morning, everyone, and welcome to Mortgage Coaches Training Thursday. My name is Lytle, and I'll be hosting today's training. So today we're going to go over borrowers' goals. We're going to work with this total cost analysis that I've created. We'll dive in, explain each of the products, and then what we're going to do is make it all apples to apples, show you how you can remove products, add products, as well as changing data. So once we do that, then we're also going to dive in and talk a little bit about silent seconds and second liens in general, the down payment assistance programs. So let's go ahead and let's launch. I'm going to launch 3 poll questions. The faster we answer these, the faster we can get into our EDGE training. So one of the questions I want to know is, how familiar are you with the new loan estimate form? The form that is going to be with TRID and going to be implemented October 3rd. So curious on how familiar you are with this. So if you can, let's go ahead and place the poll, your vote. In the polls, we have to reach 75% before we clear out the polling, and I'm at 33%. So if you can, please answer it. This one is very important. We'll be able to base our training around, it looks like not too many are familiar with it. We're going to take our training and base it around the loan estimate and how EDGE can help you with understanding that loan estimate. So with that, we only have 36% voting. So if you can, please go ahead and vote in the polling area so we could go ahead and close out this poll. So with that, we got another vote. Come on, everyone, up. We're getting there. Thank you. We're at 64%. A couple more people. Let's vote, and let's go ahead and move on. And I'm really surprised. So far, it's 100% not familiar with the form. That's good, interesting. So we'll definitely have a training following that will focus on the loan estimate as well as how EDGE can help you with that. So Marcy, let's go ahead and close out that poll and move to our next poll. So another question, are you using EDGE Live with your borrowers? And it's not just with the highlighting. Are you adding and removing products? And this is one of what we're going to focus today. So that's great. We have 27% voted. Let's keep going. Okay, it's moving a lot quicker. Great. We won't be on this question that long. So it'll be good that with today's training, we'll be able to show you how you can make those modifications, really understanding the report, make apples to apples, so you use the reinvestment strategy, and as well as just being able to move around the report. So, okay, so we have 75% saying no and 25% are familiar with it. That's great that you guys are using it. So let's close out that poll, and we'll come to our last poll, which is, how familiar are you with down payment assistance? So this is the second part of our training. It's just to be able to talk to you about how you enter those into EDGE. So we'll talk about that as well as second liens. So we have 25%, and right now it's 50-50. You've got half of you doing down payment assistance. That's great. So with that, okay, a few more. We're only at 56%. Let's get to 75, and we'll close out the poll. And this is our last poll, so we won't have any more. So let's go ahead and get there. A couple more votes, and then we'll close out. So with it, okay, Marcy, let's go ahead and close it out now. We just got to 71%. So 58% of you are working with down payment assistance, so we'll be able to help you at the end of the call, show you how you'll be able to do that in EDGE. So now that you're looking at the screen, what I'm going to do first is provide you the link to the report. So everything I'm doing, you'll be able to do with your own report. So in the lower right-hand corner, you'll notice there's a share button. I open it up, and I'm able to grab that link. This is the link to the report I'm using right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm placing it in the chat area. So if you want to go ahead and click on the link so you can follow along internally. So let me also see, go ahead and bring up my iPad. So just for a moment. And if you're following along with the iPad, we'll be able to show you that as well. And it doesn't seem to be turning on for me this morning. It's not playing. Okay, let's try this. One last try. Okay, the mobile device will not be used at this moment. So let's continue on. So with that, I went ahead and I placed the link in. So if you click on that link, you could go ahead and watch it as a borrower watch it. In the sense, the report will be on your screen, and then you'll be able to have that experience. So with it, we're going to start and work in the summary area here. So there's a lot of information that is on here, and every one of these fields are fields that are also on the loan estimate. So understanding an EDGE report will help you be able to educate your borrowers with these details, and then it will also be able to, when they go and see that loan estimate, they're going to understand a little bit more. So let's dive into it. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about an FHA 30-year fixed product with 3.5% down. We're comparing it with a conventional 3% down with monthly mortgage insurance. We also have a product that is a 3% down fixed rate, and this one, the seller is paid MI, so we won't have that monthly mortgage insurance for the borrower. And then lastly, we have a conventional 5% down with the lender paid MI. So we'll be able to compare the different products and be able to understand them. So first we're going to look at the details, and then we'll start comparing. So what I want to do first is what loan, we have our loan amounts here, but what is the purchase price? Where do you find the purchase price on a TCA? What you would want to do is click on the More Info button in that upper right-hand corner of the summary area, and you'll be able to, in the Payment Breakdown tab, that's where you're going to find the sales price. So with that, in the closing cost details, you'll find your loan to value. So you can see that it's 3% down and 5% down for those three conventional products. So that right there is starting us off, so we know what our purchase price is and we know what loan to value it is. So what I'm going to do is at the very base, there's a Clear All button, and that Clear All button is going to clear out all my highlights for me at once. So you can see how it's been removed, and I have viewers that are viewing this report. You can see I have 6 viewers here. The people who have that report open, I just cleared out the highlights as well on your presentation. So again, it'll be following the same real-time event as the borrower would experience. So now let's talk about the FHA product. So with the FHA product, one of the difference between the others is the mortgage insurance. And I want to point out, if you click on that payment stream button, it's showing you 12 months each year of payments, and it goes for the life of the loan. And the reason why you see this is each month or each year, FHA recalculates that mortgage insurance, and you have a declining balance. This is showing what that payment is as that payment declines due to MI. And then you can see at the very base of the loan how it's right there is pretty much close to the straight P&I payment. So you can see with FHAs, a lot of people only qualify for FHA loans, but you can see how carrying MI for the life of the loan is actually quite costly. So let me go ahead and close out of this, and let me do a Clear All again. So I'm clicking on my title. It cleared out all my highlights. And for those of you who aren't familiar with highlighting, all I'm doing is taking my mouse over that title. I left click and it highlights that whole column for me. So now we're looking at that conventional 3% down, and let's look at that payment stream now. So this way you can see your mortgage insurance. We have 119 months of MI. When it's dropped from the loan, it then becomes straight P&I payment. So you can see that there in your payment stream for the conventional 3% down. I'm going to go ahead and remove my highlights again, and now let's look at that seller paid MI. So with the seller paid MI, if we click on that payment stream, you can see there's no mortgage insurance at all. So we provide the number of payments, the payment breakdown, your interest rate on there. So you have that information. So let's go ahead and unhighlight that one, and let's look at the last product, our conventional LPMI. And the payment stream here, just like the seller paid MI, there's no mortgage insurance displaying, so it's straight payments. So let's go ahead, I'm using that Clear All button, And now let's look at some of the comparisons. So we know what each product we're going to provide them, and one of the differences is the interest rate. So you can see how each of those products has an increase in interest rate depending on the product that is chosen. So you can see how the difference is, and I just highlighted across the way so you'll be able to see each one of those interest rates. I also want to point out the cash to close. So here you'll be able to see what they anticipate for that cash to close and see if they're apples to apples, and I'll talk about a little bit more about that in a moment. Okay, just one moment, I have a question. Oh yes, Liliette, on FHA-MI, let me go ahead and clear this out. Yes, FHA-MI works differently than conventional MI, and USDA loans also follow the same calculation routine as FHA. And with FHA, the calculation routine that is required is after each 12 months at the end of the year of that particular loan cycle, the MI is recalculated. And it's recalculated on the outstanding balance of your mortgage, and then it will, once you calculate that, it's an average. So each year, it's a declining balance. So I have more information. I could really go into detail with you if you want some more. Just email us at support, and I'll be able to provide that breakdown. But primarily with FHA loans, you do have declining MI balance. So it's really a good habit when you're working with FHA loans. When you get to your TCA, always click on that payment stream so you could see the declining balance, and you can also see that declining payment. And then with that, this is for 3.5% down, and FHA does have different requirements depending on your LTV that you place down. So if you have a 90% loan, minimum years is only 11 years of MI. So they do have different qualifications for different loan to values as well. So I hope that answered you a little bit, Liliette, and if not, just let me know. We can reach out to you and I can explain more on FHA-MI. So we discovered the comparisons with the different rates, and we also saw the differences in the cash to close. So now let's go ahead and dive into the More Info button, and we're going to go into the details behind each of these products. So with that, you have your payment breakdown here, and this is another way you could show the borrower the difference in mortgage insurance and the different products. You can see how on the last two products, the seller and lender paid MI, there is no MI listed. And with the FHA, you have that monthly amount for the first year, and then on the conventional, you have that dollar amount as well. So you can see the MI and how it's different from each product. You have your P&I, the straight P&I of the loan based on that different interest rate. You have your property taxes as well as your hazard insurance. So you have quite a bit of information for that full pity payment to be able to provide them, as well as educate them on that information. We also have fields for homeowners association dues as well as in other fields. So we do have it, if you have additional monthly costs, you'd be able to place it there as well. So you have your total pity payment here that you have it listed. This is also in that summary section on the face of your report. And then the total payment. So if you have, if you build out with investment, the screen changes slightly with investment strategy and adds that additional principal. So that's why there's the total payment right there. And when we work with the reinvestment strategy, we'll come back to the screen. You can see how it's been modified slightly with additional details. So back to our closing cost details. We already know that you can find your LTV percentage in these this screen. You also could see what that down payment cost is. So you'll be able to have that be able to provide the borrower. And then what we do first, let's go ahead and look at that upfront MI. So you have that upfront MI for the FHA product, and it's showing, and the other products do not have that cost. The rest we group our APR, non-APR, or if you have points, you regroup it and show those dollar amounts here in the details, but below each of it, you have the fee detail cost itself. So with that, you'd be able to review the different costs with the borrower. If Edge Live, for those of you who have the report open, you could see that every time I touch that fee, the highlight will then take you there. So that's how you'll be able to really reach out to the borrower and explain your fees and explain the process of also seller paid fees, items like that. You could go straight across. You can see how the differences in each of the fees. If anything that you want to be able to show it, you'll be able to have it here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move to the reinvestment strategy screen. This is where we're going to work in making the report apples to apples. So with it, let me just describe what we're going to do, and then I'll show you in a little bit how to do it. So what we do have is a reduction in the payment. So what this field is how much you're going to apply to principal in addition to your payment. If you look at the very top here, you have your monthly savings listed for you. You can see the highest cost loan is in red, and from that we provide how much savings on each of the other monthly savings on each of the product. Just one moment, I have a question. Yes, Gabriel had a question. Let me finish the reinvestment, and then we'll go back to the closing costs, and we'll talk a little bit more on that one. So with that, we have our monthly payment savings. So to make it apples to apples, what we're going to do is take this monthly payment, we're going to add the savings in the reinvestment. So again, this will be the exact same payment that you have on that highest cost loan. So again, just trying to make everything apples to apples. Also in our reinvestment strategy, you do have an option to be able to place that savings in a savings account or an investment balance. Today we're just going to focus on principal, and we'll also provide you that freedom point. So at the end, we'll actually have all our payments apples to apples, and we can compare the freedom points, how sooner they would be paid off, as well as which is the best product for them. So that's the three areas we're going to cover. Let's go back to the closing cost field. And Gabriel, your question was the points field. And you're right, currently the points are listed out here, and they're not listed in the fee details. We are modifying that to be able to have our points being listed here. In the meantime, you can either put it as a line item if you do want to show it in this screen. Otherwise, you would have your total fee cost here, plus those points, but we do, all the cash to close is included, closing cost details as well as points in this total. So I hope that helped you out there a little bit, Gabriel, but what you addressed, we are going to be modifying our screens to address that same item. Okay, so let's close out of our more info area with all those details. Want to point out as well as you'll notice after each payment here, we have double asterisks. What that does is refer to the payment notes right below that, just letting them know that taxes and insurance are included in their payment. So that is a compliance piece, and that's something that should be on all your reports. So there is this field in Edge that you'd be able to do that. So when we go into our file, we'll talk about that as well. Just really quickly, monthly payment savings, this is a great way just for your borrowers to see the savings and not have to do the math real quick. So we have our payment. You can see the difference here, and the borrower would have to sit there and calculate those differences to find the savings. But the graph easily shows those savings to them real easily in that numeric and as a graphical format. So this is quick eyeball for a lot of borrowers. This is an easy way to find the best loan choice for them. And just look in the more info button, a lot of details just basically about that payment. When we do a second lien, the second lien will have a lot of their details right below the first lien here. Moving on, let's discuss the short-term area. So this is going to be similar to when you start discussing TIP, the third page of your loan estimate. So with this, this is the savings over 60 months. And a lot of people take the 126, the monthly savings, times it by 60, and believe that that's what these numbers are. But what the short-term savings is actually the savings of the unrecoverable costs. We're comparing fees and interest in this area. So what you would, to explain it a little further and in more detail, underneath that more info button is a lot of details. On that new loan estimate, the one item that they do provide is how much principal they paid over that 60-month period. So you're able to have that information listed on the TCA. Again, educating that borrower before they get that loan estimate. You also have the total of interest in MI that's been paid also over that 5-year period, that 60 months. And then this also, I look at this closing cost points area. This also when I'm comparing loan products, especially if they're conventional and all my fees are the same from one product to a next, this is a quick way of being able to see if all my fees are the same. So I can see right here that I do have all my fees listed exactly the same from one product to another. So I want to, that's another area if you're reviewing it for yourself, just be able to provide you a little bit more information. It's a double check. Just a moment, I had to turn on the air. So, and then at the end, so you have all this information here. And when we do a comparison against the loan estimate, you'll see on page 3 of that loan estimate under the tip area, this is what they're talking about. So with that, I want to point out we have the total cost of the loan, which is your interest in MI and your closing costs. So that's the cost in 5 years, the unrecoverable costs. And then we do a comparison. So you can see right now that the seller paid MI is, let's go ahead and close out, is the highest savings. So with that, that is also because they have no mortgage insurance, monthly mortgage insurance, and they're also not paying for that cost. Okay, did you get that, Lilia? So the short-term area is the more info button, and it has all the details right here. And then again, we have the savings listed. These are what the graphs display. So when we go into Edge, okay, perfect. So when we go into Edge, the savings over 60 months, this also is an area for the goals for the borrower. So when you're holding that conversation and you're asking when they plan to possibly move next, sell their home, if it's a different than a 5-year period, you could show them by changing this number, again, which is the best loan over that shorter term period, not just today. So we'll dive into this a little bit more, be able to show you the different costs between the products, change this number, say to 7 years, 4 years, get you an idea of how you can use this area to really hone in onto the customer's goals. So with that, we saw all the details. Now over in our long-term area, interest in MI paid, just to let you know, this area does also, you can display principal and interest or the net worth. So these are options that you can change to modify the charts in this area. So let's just take a look upon the more info button in the long term. And there's just a lot of details in here. So you have your home value. If you're using the property appreciation rate, then the dollar amount will display here. It would increase that amount. It's nice to know the loan balance at the end of 15 years, which product has the better pay down aspect. So you can see that. And then the total principal that the borrower's paid over that 15-year period and the total pity payments they paid. So a lot of details about what they paid into and the value of their loan. And also that 15 years can change just like that 60 months. So now what I want to do is, now that we explained the report, what we're going to do is dive into Edge, and let's start modifying these a little bit. So with this product, what I want to do first is let's remove the FHA product from this report. It's definitely the lowest, actually we should remove this one. Let's play with it. I know, sorry, I'm talking all the, let's go ahead and make everything apples to apples for now. So what I'm going to do is log into my Edge account. So if you're in Edge, you could go ahead and follow along. I have the report pre-created. What I want to do is show you how to do a copy real quick. So I'm showing you little details. So on the home screen, this is the client-facing reports, total cost analysis, rent versus own, and the lower area is the partner-facing, the open house and the seller buy-down. Up at the top, you have your new client, so this is always starting the new client, TCA and rent versus own, or new partner, which is your open house. We also have settings, but I do want to point out the help button. We do record this call, and I should have mentioned that earlier. And if you click on the help, it opens to a new tab to our knowledge base. Here, if you have any questions, you can always put it in the search engine. So if you have a question on mortgage insurance, you could do a search. It displays everything on mortgage insurance. I also want to point out we have our monthly events calendar. We'll be updating it for September shortly, so you can see all the events for September, as well as our coaching call archive. Today's training will be posted right down here. So I want to point that out real quick before we dive into Edge. And then that's why I was going in here. On our events calendar, I wanted to point out, if you're new to Mortgage Coach, the events calendar does show an introduction class that we hold on Mondays. So we have an introduction to Edge for beginners, goes a lot slower. We have mortgage mobile mentality. If you're not familiar with the mobile device, hop on this call. We'll be able to show you how to use that mobile device. You're on the training Thursday. You can see how this is a little bit more advanced, but you'll be able to dive into different areas. And as well as if you have any questions, please keep them coming in the question area. And Mortgage Coach University. This is great. Click on the link. You can see all the different kinds of things you could do in Edge. So if you're unaware of what it can do, click on that link, and you could see during our 3 weeks of training that we hold, all the different items we're going to cover in Edge. So it's a great area to be able to get more information, more knowledge. So let's go back to Edge. Let me show you how to copy a report. So I'm going to go to Clear All, and I'm going to search it. I have my first name, Lori M, and I'm going to do a search. And you can see I have 2 files listed for me to copy from. I also want to point out, if I go back to View All, if I don't put any information here and do a search, it lists all my reports that I've created in my account. And then I also have that filter up at top. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Lori M, and you can see under Lori M I have 2 working files. So I'm going to take the file we're working with, and I want to copy it. So this way I'm just keeping one exactly the same, and you can see the difference between the 2 links. So I'm copying analysis. It allows me to keep it in my current client, which means I'll have this listed right below the Lori M. Lytle. Or if you want to copy it to a new client, this will take that same report and allow you to put new contact information in. So that's the difference between the 2 buttons here. So let's press OK. We're going to create a new file. It copied all my data over. If I highlight down my products, you can see through the jump out all 4 products. And what I'm going to do with my friendly name field, I'm going to go ahead and put in today. And have that down here. I put the date. So this way I know this is my working file. This is a great way, open house flyers, put the street address, street number, so you know what open house it is for that particular partner, or just some little information as a reference. So what I'm going to do is just go through the screens real quickly to show you what I did, and then we'll focus on the products. So we have our client information here. I just put in the name. You can also put it as middle and last name. Co-borrower. Moving on to the second screen, I had marked my goals as purchase. So we just mark it as a purchase and move on. I have a property value. This will focus for my loan to value. So I have 280 in here. And actually my sales price is 185. So let's go make an update my assumptions. So I was able to update that so it matches my product. So we do have a purchase price of $185, which also is my appraised value. So now with that, if you notice, I just went from assumptions to products. And then with products, anytime you hover over an area, you can see the different jump outs. You can always move quickly by just clicking on the different jump out. The other jump out I want to point out is presentations. This will take you to the very last screen, the preview, or select report. So select report, let's go ahead and just touch base on select report real quick. This is where the payment notes are held. So this is that on the report where we have the double asterisk and that verbiage, this is where that verbiage lies. So you can update that. I also want to point out the differences if you want to remove a product. So let's go back to the report real quick. I'm going to pull it out a little bit and just be able to put it side by side to my data screen so you'll be able to see it. And with that, what I want to point out is, let's just go ahead for now to show you how this area works. I'm going to remove the highest cost loan and compare against the other two or other three. So I'm going to remove the conventional product. So you can see all four of my products are listed. I'm unmarking the conventional and moving to the right. As long as you move to a different screen, that's what saves the data. So that just made my data say change save. And then you'll see that my report will be up. Oh, it's not this report. We have a new presentation because I did a copy. Let me get that preview up, and let me go ahead and also pop this link in the chat area. So let's share that link with you. The new link is in the chat area. And let's do that one more time. So let's go to a select report, and let's place that conventional product back on the report. And you'll see how it's going to update on the right-hand side. So it will go from 3 products to 4 products. So it's just quite easy that if you want to remove the conventional and the FHA and just focus on the lender paid and seller paid MI, you can see how you could change that presentation rather easily. So this is a good way where you can either start with 2 products, and you might want to show them a couple different ones. You can have it pre-built, and then you come into presentation when you're talking with the borrower, and you can add both of them at one time, or you can add them as you talk. So you can see how I just added an FHA product to the other 2. And now let's go ahead and put back on that conventional product. So with that, you can see how the differences with the particular products, how you can change that report on adding and reducing the different amount of products on your screen, or what you're displaying. So we have all the 4 products now. So now what we want to do is focus on the payment, and we want to make that apples to apples. So first off, what we want to do, let's go ahead and open this up so it's a little bit bigger. One of the things is making it apples to apples is, let's go ahead and make all of our products 95%. So let's go ahead and put this back. So with that, let's go ahead and go into each of our products. I'm hovering it over. Let's go to the conventional. I opened up my down payment, and now I'm going to change it to 5%. Quick way, hover your mouse over products. Now go to the seller paid MI. Change that to 5%. And what I want to do is focus on the 3 conventionals, and let's remove the FHA for now. So let's go to select products, remove the FHA, and now let's take a look at our product. So now what you've seen is it's going to remove the FHA. And now let's take a look at the More Info button. And you can see that all of them are now at 95%. So now let's take a look at report and see how it's still lying. So you can still see, with that we have the change. You could still see that the seller paid MI is the highest savings over that lender paid. So now let's go ahead and go back into Edge and work with the reinvestment strategy. We can reinvest the mortgage insurance once it drops from the loan. So right here, we're going to do that. And we're going to go ahead and reinvest the monthly savings on both those conventional products. So let's go to the analysis screen. Let's open this back up for you. And I'm going to go ahead and click on analysis. And now let's go ahead and click on adjust reinvestment strategy in the middle left. And so first you'll see the monthly savings. We discussed that before. The highest payment is in red, and then you have your monthly payment savings. So let's go ahead and put in that dollar amount in the reduction payment field. So this amount is going to be applied directly to principal. And as I said before, you can always show it going to an investment balance or a savings balance. So now you can see that these payments, these two seller paid and lender paid, now equal that conventional product. But now with the conventional product, you have MI that's dropping from the loan. So we want to reinvest that. So I'm double clicking to customize my reinvestment. And you see a new schedule opens up. And at the very base of that schedule, it tells me what month I no longer have mortgage insurance. So I'm going to go ahead and click on 112 and then put in that dollar amount for the mortgage insurance. So this is telling the system at 112th month, start applying my mortgage insurance toward principal. So you can see the 160 is now being reinvested. By adding the savings, so we have apples to apples we're showing right now, you can see the freedom point. So the conventional lender paid is being paid off in 24 years. The seller paid, you can have it paid down in 22.92, and then the freedom point. So this just shows if they can afford the payment for the conventional, then go ahead and make it even all the way across, just to be able to show it them and understand the power of each loan option. So let's press OK, and now let's take a look at the report. So with the report, it's going to modify in the summary area, and it's going to go ahead and you'll see that it now has a reduction payment line. So with that, it also is pointing out your freedom point. So you have both those items now on your report. So let's go in the More Info button. And you can see in the payment breakdown, it's been adjusted to go ahead and include that reduction payment line right here. And now let's go ahead and go into our reinvestment strategy and see how that screen's been modified. So you can see with that, we've applied that as well as our freedom point. And now if we click on our custom button, you can see that 112th month that they're reinvesting that mortgage insurance. More info button, you can see the additional principal being paid on those other two products. So now with that, let's talk about, now you can see how you can make the payments apples to apples. So now let's talk about the short-term area, and let's work with that 60-month period. So if we go back to Edge, let's go ahead and move this over. And with Edge, let's go back to that analysis screen. So in the analysis screen is where you modify the number of months for that short-term area. So this is where you'll be able to discuss if the term, when they plan to be moving. Say it's going to be in 7 years. So let's go ahead and change the short term to 7 years and see the change. So you can see how the FHA is actually overcoming the conventional product. But that seller paid MI is quite high compared to that lender paid. So it shows you the difference. You can also drop it down to 48 months, and you can also see the numbers there. So let's see how that reflects on the report. So you can see I've been modifying the numbers, but my report hasn't been updated with that change. As soon as I advance my screen left or right, or just go into a different screen in general, that's what triggers my save. So now that I've made my save, the report is going to update with that 48 months and be able to provide the graphs for that. And I have the right one. There we go. So you can see how it's updated with that information. And I do have it where I have the FHA product removed, and this is just comparing against the 3. So you can show the 48 months. Maybe it's 84 months before they are going to plan to move. So you'll be able to show that information. Really dive into that short-term area to find which is that best product. But now what if your seller isn't paying that MI? So let's remove that seller product and let's compare the conventional 5% with the lender paid 5%. So now with that, you can see on the right-hand side, we're going to remove that middle product and we'll just compare against those two, lender paid and borrower paid MI. So let's open this up a little bit. So now you can see the difference. So even though it has that higher interest rate, you can see how they're saving still because of that mortgage insurance. And that's a lot of times people don't understand. But this is also a product that shows how it's saving over 7 years. It's saving close to $10,000. It's at $9,118. But now I want to point out we do have mortgage insurance through that 111 years. Let's just see the savings in that short-term area after that MI has been dropped. So just to be able to, how you can really move with it by understanding these fields, you then can go ahead and really be able to talk about the goals with your borrower. So let's move this to 111. Let's just do 10 years here, just a little bit over that mark. So I've made my update, and let's check out our report. So still, the lender paid is still a better option still at that 10th year mark. So it just definitely shows, because the borrower is assuming they're going to have a better overall performance on that lower rate, they're not including that mortgage insurance. And this is a great way to be able to introduce that to the borrower and to be able to discuss it further. So let's just check out 15 years just since we're here. But it gives you an idea how you can change the numbers when you're talking to the borrower to be able to show them the short term. And you could do the same with the 15 years. So a lot of people I see change that 15-year mark to reflect the full term. So you could do that as well. Just put in 30, and then it will update that long-term area. So that showing you how you'll be able to work with those two areas here. Any questions talking about the reinvestment strategy, how we got to apples, how we removed products, or working with those different years in the short term and long term? If you have any questions on that, go ahead and put it in the question area. Right now, what we're going to do is going to go ahead and move and work on second products. So let's go ahead and close out this report. And open up my screen again. So with a second lien, let's see if let's go into my search area. I want to look for something. So with a second lien, let's go ahead and start a report real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and click on New Client. It's going to be for John Smith, and I'm just putting in basic details so we can focus on the products and show you how you want to enter in the different scenarios on a second or a down payment silent second, items like that. Payment, I want to be able to identify this product here, down payment or TCA. Move to my next screen. I'm just marking purchase a new home. Simple, keep moving on. Let's use a $250,000 loan amount. And at this point, technically I could go directly to my product. So let's show you what I'm not filling out, just affordability. Great tools with this screen to use, but to get through quickly and simply, I leave those areas empty, and then I come to my products. So let's talk about an FHA. First, let's key in an 80-10-10. So it gives you an idea of a second lien. Then we'll go into down payment assistance. So with an 80-10-10, this is allowing the borrower to bring in 10% down, and he's financing a second lien of 10%. So let's go ahead and open up your percentage field for the down payment. Because it is 20%, even though 10 comes from the second lien, you do want to be able to put in 20% in this area. But to know what that loan amount is for your second, you can always enter in 10%. You know what that down payment is $25,000, and now you can go ahead and override that with 20. And I'll show you when we get to in the second lien how that helps you a little bit. So let's go ahead and put in our interest rate and our term. It's going to be a conventional fixed product. Advance the loan, or advance the screen. I'm putting in 15 days prepaid interest. Clicking on my closing cost details. I have my fee templates. Let's go ahead and do conventional fees. Brought down my fees, make any kind of changes that you need. Apply it to the loan. Move on to the next screen. I'm going to go ahead and open up my percent fields just to go ahead and put in my monthly costs, as well as the number of months for reserves. You'll notice it's at the very base of the screen here. So with the 80-10-10, I do not need mortgage insurance, so I'm leaving that empty. And you'll notice the very last field of the screen, it's asking if this product includes a second lien. So this is where you want to make sure you mark it yes, advance the screen, and now you fill out the details for the second lien. So let's put in that $25,000. I'm going to use a rate of 5 1/4 and a 300-month term. So this is just putting in that information on the second. It's really basic, really easy. And then if they have any fees associated with it, you could go ahead and apply that. So that finishes that first product, how you can do a second lien. So now say it's an FHA product and it's a silent second. So it works a little bit differently. So let me move back to the second lien and talk about this a little bit. So with the second lien, this is applying a principal and interest payment along with that first. So when we look at the preview, you can see how we have our summary information. We do have a blended rate, blended APR. But if you move over to the monthly payment savings, there's no graph right now in both of these short-term and monthly payments because we only have one product. So let's click on that more info, and how I mentioned you have your payment for the first lien as well as that payment on the second lien, or the total payment. So you have that information here that you'll be able to access, and also the more info button has the payment breakdown of your first and your second lien amount. So let's go back to Edge. I'm going to go to my products, and let's add our second product. Thank you. I couldn't figure out why I had that. Thank you, Hope. I'm like, why do I have a $1,400 payment? Thank you. Now let's make this right, $25,000. There we go. Now let's take a look at that report. A lot better, I bet. It hasn't been, oh, it just popped. It just went ahead and updated. Much, much better, isn't that? Thank you so much for letting me know there, Hope. So there you go, and then you also have that better payment down there. So now let's move back to Edge, and let's add that second product and show you how you could do that silent second. So add another product, and I'm just going to label this FHA silent second. Silent second meaning the payment is not due each month, but it is due and payable when they refinance the home or sell the home, whichever occurs first. So that's what the silent second is. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and put in my purchase price. And in this particular case, I'm having a 3% down payment assistance, but 3.5% loan. So I'm just sort of, you know, why I'm in here, find out what that 3% mark is. So that's $7,500. And let's go ahead and put a down payment of 3.5. 4% interest rate and our term of 360. So I just have my basic setup here. Also need to, on the upfront premium, mark it as an FHA. And if you have templates in this area, you could have used a template to create your FHA, and that would have provided you that FHA monthly insurance we're going to key in. Advance your screen, upfront MI. I opened up that bubble to put in a percentage. 1.75 is the upfront factor, and I'm adding it to the loan amount. Let's press in 15 days prepaid, and Gabriel earlier was talking about the points field. If you place a point out here, it's not listed in the closing cost details, and that's what he was talking about earlier. What we are doing is going to be moving that dollar amount so you can see it in the display at the very base in this blue bar. But if you do want to have it shown in this area, you would have to place it in the closing costs versus the outside screen. So going back to your question earlier in the hour, Gabriel, that's how you would do that. So let's pull down a fee template. I'm going for my FHAs. Now with that down payment assistance, so this is where you would actually put in that information. So the silent second, they're going to receive $7,500 toward the down payment, and they won't have payments until they sell or refinance the home. So the way the workaround is in Edge, we place that as a fee for the down payment assistant, and let me show you how that will work. So this way, you'll be able to show the product, show the fee. You won't really be able to show the interest accrued, but it will at least provide the borrower more information about that payment. So let's add a custom fee is how we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to then counteract with a negative amount here and place it as a borrower. So let's go ahead and click on Add Custom Fee. You can put whatever description if you have a specific name for that product, like Cal Chaffa, whichever way you want to label it. I'm just going to label it Down Payment Assistance. And with this, what I want to point out is if you want to use the percentage, you can use the property value. This is the sales price. Or if you're doing other kinds of fees, it's against the loan amount. So you have the two items you'll be able to work it with. Also, on a down payment assistance, this isn't a fee. It's not a cost to the loan. And when you have an item like that, always mark it default prepaid and then press OK. So with that, you'll now have that always listed in your down payment in your drop downs, and then you can apply that dollar amount here. So let's apply a negative $7,500, and the reason why it's a negative is because it needs to go ahead and counterbalance the borrower paid fees. So it needs to be a negative and attributed to the borrower. So then it will bring down that amount, because at the end it's not so much of the fees, it's the down payment where it will go ahead and cross over. So you can see how I placed that second lien amount in here, and I actually, it's not a negative, it's a positive. I really apologize, everyone. And apply it to the loan, and let's check out the preview. So then with it, you can see how you have with your payment breakdown, there's no second lien, as I told you. There's no payment. We went ahead and took care of that in the cash to close area in this spot right here. So you see how you'll be able to build out those type of products and be able to show those down payment assistant programs on your report, as well as those 80-10-10s. If you have an 80-10-10 that is a HELOC, we do have a workaround for that. So if you want to be able to see that and understand that more, if you're doing HELOCs, just email us at support, and we'll be able to assist you with those products. Going back to the product, show you how you could do, I can't think, just remember, there's one more type. Let me just see my fees real quick. Earnest money. Earnest money is the same way as adding down payment. You would just go ahead and create a custom fee. You can talk about earnest money. and then whatever that deposit amount is, you could place it in here. So those were a couple of the questions that had come through the box this week. Want to be able to point those out to you. Right now, I want to open up to any kind of questions if you want me to go and dive into. Let me know. Okay, so if you're doing a refinance and you're paying off debt, the way you would show that, let's just go into this file and let me just work with the fees and I'll show you how you could do that. Again, you're going to counter, so what you would do is just create that custom fee and whatever payoff, you could describe that whatever you want. Always make sure you mark it as a prepaid, because what this field controls is the short-term area, and this excludes any of that payoff amounts or any of those items that are not cost of loan. And you can put credit card. You can also do car payments if they're paying it off. So you would just put it in here and then also list that money there. Want to point out, last week I did talk about that a little bit, about payoffs. So if you go into the help button and look at last Thursday's training call, we did go into actually talking about monthly debt, where you can show in the monthly debt column, or the monthly debt in this extra field that we have. If you have monthly costs like wind or storm, things like that, you could place that monthly amount here. But also if you have your monthly credit card debt, or car payment, you could put car payment here. Oops, I have to do it my refinance screen. I'm going to remove purchase. Okay. Just one moment. I want to show you. See if it's this product from last week. Basically, with the credit card or payoff, okay, if Diane has a question on when you open the link on your laptop that you're not seeing the full presentation, try pressing F11. It sounds like you're not using full screen mode, and the presentation, depending on the size of your computer, it does shrink down. So press F11, that should open it back up. So when you have a second, any kind of debt, and you're doing a refinance, like say it was a car payment. If you put a car payment and say that monthly amount was $250, this is how you could show the monthly amount, what they're paying out, and then when you do your new products, the $250 is removed, and then you also pay off that debt. So there is a way. I did discuss that, Gabriel, if you want to know a little bit more, in last week's training, and it really dives into how you could go ahead and do the monthly payment, show what that monthly payment is, and then in each product you remove it and show that payoff that's being paid off. So we do have a way of doing that. Any other questions that you have that you want to dive into more for the last couple minutes? We're getting ready to wrap up, and I'm here to answer any kind of questions. As I see them come in, I'll go ahead and address it. I just want to point out a couple other areas. Your settings area, this is where you update all those fee templates, product templates. Make sure you add your image, your picture to the settings. This will display on the report as well as your logo. And make sure you have your contact information all complete and accurate. Want to point out, make sure your MLS license number has a description in front of that number, because this is fully what's displaying on the report. So want to point out that for you. And with that, right now, I don't see any more questions in the box. So if that's the case, I'm going to just stay on the line for another minute or so. We will, the call is recorded, and we'll place it up on our knowledge base later today for you to access. Thank you very much for taking the time and being on today's call. If there's a specific topic you want to learn about, please email us at support. We could display it next week. and we'll be able to focus our training about that particular scenario or that kind of build. And thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Okay, just a moment. Earnest money. Let me see, as soon as they're going to close out the poll, I'm going to set up, open it up, and be able to show you just one moment. Let's go ahead. So it's just basically you work with earnest money in a, like a fee area. So if you go to your closing cost details, and if you can't see my screen yet because of the poll, let me know, and I'll wait a moment. Otherwise, I'm going to continue on. So with that, what I had done for earnest money for right now, what you need to do is create a custom fee. So you want to click on a custom fee, and you want to be able to I think so, Gabriel. I've been hammered. Let's just check it out and see if it's a negative or a positive. So what you would want to do, Mark, is place in here earnest money. You want to make sure it's marked as prepaid. Press OK. And then you have your earnest money here. And you have let's put 10,000 in here. So let's just start with it and show how it is. So with that, on the details, you have all your information here. And then there's earnest money, and I have it as a 0. So let's go ahead and place in the earnest money as a negative. Marcy, if you're there, it is a negative, correct? Whoops.
It is a negative.
Apply to loan. Oh, there you are. Thank you. So yes, Gabriel, it is a negative. So then when you preview the report, as soon as it's been updated, let's go ahead and go into more info. And I know, Mars, we had a whole discussion on that before this QA. And here's your earnest money right here. So down payment assistance too, just put it as a negative here and you'll be set. So did that answer your question, Mark and Gabriel? I think that was it. And thanks for the catch, Gabriel. So anything else, please go ahead and put it in the question area. I am going to mute myself. I will be here for another moment or so before we close out. Thank you again for attending. Enjoy the rest of your day.